Angle this thing down just a hair. Hello. Click some stuff here, get it out of the way. See, there's a few people here. Hello, thanks for joining. This is the second live stream of the live stream I tend to have every Sunday, unless something comes up, of course. I've got a few topics I want to talk about. I'm going to be doing for some people. Probably wait till a few more people get in here for that, but I hope you guys that are watching enjoyed your weekend. Mine was pretty slow. Just cleaning on the big lathe, getting ready to paint. Well, at least the front half of it, ready to paint. Still got quite a bit of you guys are sitting on it right now. Hey, BS Small Engines, thanks for joining. Excuse me. Yeah, the lathe you guys are sitting on is probably going to be painted in like two phases because I just don't care for painting. I don't care for stripping oil off stuff. I don't care for grinding the paint off. I don't care for painting it. It's the worst thing to me. Yeah, it's mostly clean now though. So looking at it, about another hour, I'll have it ready to paint. And then going through a bunch of the parts. I painted a bunch of the parts for it that weren't already painted. That guy. This guy cleaned up. Need to put the oil ports back in it. They need to find out where some of the other parts go. Got that guy cleaned up. I got most of the quick change gearbox side cleaned up today. The irritating part is all the socket head cap screws, vary in length by 1/4 of an inch. And there's a coffee can full of them. So I've got them all laid out by size. So hopefully I count the bolt holes. All this needs 4. It looked like they're this long. All the holes are drilled extra deep on this. So that'll be the time-consuming part. For all the parts that it's in, it's pretty obvious where they go. Just thankfully the apron's not tore apart, and those gears and all that is everywhere. Because that would not be fun. I was able to find a parts manual for it. It's pretty vague. The parts are poorly illustrated at best, I would say. But we'll get her together. This may take a time or two. And the parts diagram I found didn't have the taper attachment included on it. So, hey, John Ratz Welding and Machine, thanks for joining. Hope your weekend went well. Excuse me. Yeah, one of the things I want to talk about is I've gotten a lot of emails about this bearing here. This is the spindle bearing off the top of the Delta DP220 drill press. These are hard to come by, and when you can find them, they're expensive. Now this part here is the inner part of the bearing. This is not pressed in there. This is all one part. It's got the thread hole there to lock it into the top of the headstock. So what I'm going to do is I took this to my bearing guys. I matched up the OD and the ID. I found one that's this is about 215 thousandths thick. I found one that's just a hair. The ID is just a hair smaller. And then I can take some tubing and turn it. And for what this is, Loctite will hold this to the inside of the bearing perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. There'll be no issues with it. So what I might do is do a small production run of these for people that need them for their drill presses. I might show people how to do it too that have a lathe. And this is an expensive part if you can find it. Really, those DP220s are worth more in parts than they are a whole unit, it seems. So yeah, we'll be working on this soon. I'm going to get probably some thick wall tubing. Again, the only thing that sits on this top part is the inside of the cone pulley. That's what sits on here. This slips in, and a set screw or a socket head cap screw holds this in. So I'm looking at that amongst other things. Because the other bearings that have the two slots on them, you can just use normal bearings for those. The two slots, those Delta drill presses, if you guys didn't know, they had a quick change quill for, you could get a grinding quill for it. You could get a number 2 Morse taper quill. You could get a few other quills. I have a Morse taper 2 quill from an old one. And that's what those teeth are for. Those 2 tabs is for engaging those. But you can, and I'll show in the video, just clean up the headstock, put 2 normal bearings in there, put a little bit of Loctite around the outside on each one, because you want to ensure that the outside's locked, of course, and the inside's just turning. And then just use 2 little store-bought spacers on each side to space the bottom of the quill off the bottom of the bearing. It'll be fine. There'll be no problems. So, I'm waiting for new bearings to come in for that still. It's taking a while to get some. Every bearing I've ordered in the last month has taken at least 3 weeks to get here. So that's one thing. Then putting the big lathe back together. That probably a week's worth of work. I've got it mostly cleaned up. I got most of the stuff laid out. I need to lay it out in a more organized fashion. Then the unfortunate part I discovered talking to the guy I bought it from today is there were some extra parts the guy he got it from gave him. He didn't know if they went to it or if they were to replace wore-out parts. So there's some duplicates of parts. So I need to, that confused me a little bit at first looking through the parts diagram. But as you know, we cracked into the headstock yesterday. Looks really good in there. It's odd to me that this lathe, the big one you guys are on, is about 10 to 12 years newer than the 14-inch. And the 14-inch is much, not that the big one is poorly designed, but, the other one has has an oil pump in the head and all that stuff. And, the clutch and the brake are separated. It just seems a little more full-featured, if that's a way to put it. Hey, Hilltop Machine Works. Yes, it's actually almost 52 out today. We're hitting a warm spell. So, thank you, BS Small Engines. I see you shared my video. That is super cool. Yeah, we had about an inch of snow a week ago, and maybe 2 weeks before that, or Christmas Day, we had a couple inches. But it went away quick. It's fine by me. So, yeah. Besides that, what else is going on? I tested the transformer. It's sitting right here. All seems good to go. I ordered a pre-built rotary phase converter, a 40 horse one. So it's going to be coming to the shop soon. I'm still going to build out the 15 with all the it's over there, with all the capacitors and stuff, so I can let you guys know the numbers and the start switch, where to order them, and all that stuff. I'm gonna wire them both in, because obviously to run my 3-horse hard cutoff saw or the surface grinder and all that, I'd like to be able to run a smaller engine to power them. I know it's not a big, the idle draw is not terrible, but I don't want to run a 40 horse motor to run a 1-horse 3-phase motor for a while when I can run a 15 horse, to do the same thing. So we'll see. I'm still a lot of debating going on that side of it. You broke a Briggs engine block today. Exhaust bolt. It happens. Did you overly damage the threads getting it out, or did you break something else off the side of it? Those blocks are not worth buying new. No. So yeah, I got the a line on a potential tailstock for the 14-inch Reed Prentice. There's a guy checking a lathe in a scrapyard in Oregon for me. So even if it's close, I told him to snag it. So yeah, again, I'll be doing these guys. This one's still good. This is crazy how expensive parts for those Delta DP220 drill presses are. There's a million of them out there. Oh yeah, well that would call for a block replacement. When I was testing the transformer, I was able to pretty much balance out the wild leg off my phase converter. But again, that's not going to be dynamically balanced. For the static load that the phase converter was putting out to that wild leg you get from a homemade phase converter, I was able to balance it out. I haven't tested it with anything plugged in yet, because none of my wires are currently wired for 480. But at least baseline, it was a little low, and I was able to bring it up. It was about 35 volts low. I got it up there a bit. But I'm sure once there are loads on there, it's just going to go wherever it wants to go. But they told me running it through a transformer would help balance that, absorb some of that voltage. So we'll see. Again, with the transformer, I don't know if I'm going to run the heads for the 4-head drill press are 480 volt only. Well, they're for 40 volt. So I might have it switched to its own outlet. So someone figured out the power side of everything. I mean, I'll be able to power everything. But as far as specifically what's going to be The good thing is the shop is kind of narrow. So with cord length is not going to be an issue. I'd like to have drops and not have cords on the floor because the gantry crane and the hydraulic cart do not like cords. Hi, Brian. Thanks for joining us. Hope your weekend went well. The other thing I found out on the chip pan on the 14-inch Reed Prentice is completely removable. And the one on the big one is designed the same. It slides out like a big tray. But with the middle leg in, there's bolts that run through it. So you have to drop the middle leg to get the chip pan out, which seems a mite odd to me. Yeah, cords on the floor though. I mean, that hydraulic cart, I love the cart. I can't say enough good things about it, but the smallest micron of pebble that's in the way locks a wheel up on it. Same for the gantry crane. I should get some rubber tires for it. It's got just metal casters on it right now, which it could get away with rubber casters. It doesn't weigh enough to put a flat spot on them or anything like that. Especially get the cords out of the way because I have a few more carts to make. Cart for the big grinder, the 24-inch grinder. So got one cart for that. I need to put new casters on the Johnson bandsaw. And probably the chop saw is going to get a movable stand too. Because those things don't use very much, so I can tuck them away. And those cylinder grinding machines I'm getting, they'll be on casters, and because they don't need to be leveled or anything like the lathes do. I debated putting both the milling machines on casters. The vertical milling machine isn't really all that heavy, so. But again, I don't want it skating around the floor everywhere. Then there'll be some videos, not this week, but next week on the sandblasting cabinet. I was messing with it some more today. I'm going to make a cart for it and a mobile dust collection system. I'll probably just push it outside when I need it. I was going to cut a hole in the wall, put a tube in, exhaust tube, everything outside. But I think with the grinder, the big grinder on a cart and sandblasting thing on a cart, anything like that, I'll just push to the front of the shop and it'll just go out the door. I'll show you guys a video soon of me kicking on that big grinder. That thing is kind of spooky when it's running. And it does not have fine grit wheels on it. That thing will eat some steel. I pushed a concrete form stake into the flat wheel, and it almost ground it as fast as I could push it in. So. And when I shut it off, the wheels spin for probably 10 minutes. So yeah, in a couple of weeks, we'll have a few more machines moving in here. It's getting to the point where in my part of the state, my part of the country, I'm going to have to start driving 5-6 hours away to find stuff to pick up. My area just doesn't really have anything. I've gotten really lucky with my Craigslist ads for old machinery. But now I'm going to have to either drive to the other side of the state or deep into another state to find stuff. I'm actually looking at a pretty well-tooled turret lathe. Warner Swasey, number 3 or 4. I'm more interested in all the tooling that comes with it more than I am the lathe. Now that turret lathe wouldn't come in handy. It's just room. We're running out of it. Well, enjoy your dinner. I should have ate before I started this, but I did not. So I'm busy cleaning the lathe, getting it ready for paint. That's one of the 10-inch turret lathe. Is it the Logan? Logan made a lot of smaller turret lathes. Hey, Dan Fisher. I'm looking for now more specific use machines. I really need a sheet metal brake. I really need I'd like to get a metal shear and a box and pan brake. So I'm kind of picking and choosing the odd stuff off the list now. I don't think I'm going to sell any more machines. I've regretted, except for a few cases like the LeBlanc and stuff, I've regretted getting rid of every machine I've ever gotten rid of. So I can cram them in here. But I need a few I don't do a lot of sheet metal work. I do have a way in the distance project that'll come handy. I'm looking for a small radial arm drill press to help me with a recurring job I do. I need a bigger MIG welder. But really, so looking around, I need a big vertical bandsaw. I'd like to get one with at least a 24-inch by 24-inch table. Again, I had one. I got rid of it a couple years ago. She never got rid of it. But at the time, my shop situation wasn't questioned, so you do what you have to do sometimes. But yeah, I'll be more select machines for more specialty jobs to expand the types of jobs I can do. Because with the big Reed Prentice, I think this will be all the lathe I'll ever need, swing wise, and most certainly lengthwise for the work I do. I do know where this is a 22. There's a 30-inch lathe for pretty cheap, but I'm kind of done with the ancient flat belt drive lathes. So with the 2 Reeds and the Hypermac, I have 3 lathes. So I would like to get a bigger vertical milling machine one day. But if I get another vertical mill, it's going to be universal. So for cutting gears and whatnot. That horizontal milling machine I got is as big as I will need. And I know where there's a big shaper I could get, but I'll probably pass on that. Again, with a shop my size, of course, I'd love to buy every machine I ever ran across. Have to sneak sideways between all the machines in here, but that's just not practical. In fact, as much as I hate to say it, the base to the forehead drill press is That's a super, super back burner project. I do have, or will very soon have the rest of the motors here. But the space, it makes a really good table. It makes an excellent table. But for the space it takes up, it might end up on the back porch. So I've had saws and presses and stuff like that on my back patio before, plugged in and working. I know when people come over for a barbecue, it looks a little odd, but I do like the Brian. I do like the LeBlanc lathes. Like the one I had, I loved the way the feed reverses worked in the carriage. Very nice and smooth setup. And the guy I sold that LeBlanc to messaged me probably 2 days later, and he crashed it really good. So it's unfortunate. Haven't heard from him since, but he got the feed change levers messed up, and he was only an inch away from the chuck. And he engaged it, turned around to grab something, and the carriage ran itself into the chuck. So you gotta be careful about stuff like that, especially with a new machine. You need to kind of become friends with it. I'm also getting a punch press, 30 or 40 ton. It's older, needs some work, but it does work. There's a turret lathe, a punch press, a big, huge wood lathe. The wood lathe, that's just the headstock and the tailstock, and you make your own bed for it. And a post leg vise. A guy's one that sold me for $500. But he said when he was cleaning around the lathe, he couldn't see the turret or anything else. Well, what good is a turret lathe that's missing the tailstock and the turret and maybe most of the components to it? So, but again, it's a game with a lot of tooling, but it does not. So, you'd be surprised if you put yourself an ad on Craigslist saying you're looking for old machines and stuff like that. I get a message a week, sometimes two. A lot of it's those 14-inch wood and metal cutting bandsaws every week. I got one and I think $500 for it. No, not interested. There's a million of them. Every company made them. That's most of it. Or I got an old 3/8 hand drill. I go, well, I'll take a look at it, but that's not what I'm looking for. But I've picked up, the big LeBlanc or the big Reed Prentice and the smaller Reed Prentice all came from that. So, also cylinder honing machines, the Acer head for the vertical mill. That's all from Craigslist ads. Looking for old machines. So I highly recommend you do that if you're in an area where machines are scarce, which they are very scarce in my area. In fact, there's a guy selling a lathe that's a Lion. I've never heard of the make before. He wants $1,500 for it. It's a 18 by about 8-foot or 10-foot bed, but it's got a bunch of broken gears in it. And the ad, he says the replacement gears were 18. He found them for $1,800. So that's the kind of machines you find around here. Yeah, eating machine is hard to come by in my area. The big old lathes are pretty much, I haven't seen them in a while. At the auctions, they show up, but man, they're just beat. There's actually at the auction that's every month here that I go to, it's a Precision brand lathe. It's been there 3 times in the last year. It showed up. It went for, with no chuck, nothing. It went for like $2,400. it came back like 3 months later, and the headstock part was all cleaned and wiped off, like someone had been in it, and it was back at the auction. So that's a big red flag right there. So next time it went for about $2,000 again. It was gone for a couple months, came back, and it'd been cleaned up a little bit more, but it was back at the auction. So I steered clear of it, and it ended up going for like $700. It was a modern lathe. It was from the late 90s or early 2000s. But when they keep showing up, I try to, if there's a way to check the oil in them without taking the covers off like you have to do on all the older ones, I'm very wary of machines at auctions that have brand new gear oil in them, especially if it's a milling machine and like a gearbox has brand new oil in it or something. That tells me someone tried to fix something, replace the oil in it, and their repair didn't work, so now it's at the auction. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind when you're looking at stuff like that. Hey, Rick, what about the junkyard? You showed the lathes. They have not had any in about 2 months now. They usually, there was a big horizontal boring mill there a couple weeks ago. It didn't stay long. It just took up too much room in their yard. But every lathe, I talked to the guys that run it, every lathe that shows up from now on, I'm going to strip all the gears out of, all the nameplates off of. I mean, I hate to, if it's a good condition lathe, I mean, it's only so good because it's in a scrapyard. I'd like to give someone a chance to snag the whole machine before I strip it. But again, I want to strip the parts, so if people are looking for parts, I have stuff I can help them with. So he says they keep all lathes and metalworking machines or anything that could be sold as a whole for 3 weeks or 20 days, I think it is. So what I'll do is I'll let the machine sit for probably 10, 12 days. And, if I come across any reprinted lathes, I'm buying them. So, for parts. But, again, I'll let them sit for 10, 12 days. And then I'm going to buy the tailstocks, any steady rests. I'm going to take the, as much as a carriage apart as I can. I'm going to strip all the gears. On the older lathes, I'll take all the back gears. On newer ones, some of them can be a real pain to get any of the headstock gears out. But again, the guys I talked to, they don't care if you strip something apart in the yard after some amount of time. It's all just scrap to them. I'll take all the name plates and all that off, and anything that's common use. They never have chucks or anything like that. I'll take all that stuff off, make a note of what machines it came off of, and I have a shed that I can put all that stuff in and organize it. So, because those modern lathes, you can harvest a lot of gears out of the head. A lot of them are metric gears, and I don't know if I'm going to take like lead screws off and stuff like that, or aprons. But we'll just see. Taper attachments. I'll probably take taper attachments off stuff. What are you looking for on the reed? I'm looking for a tailstock for my 14-inch. Yeah, because I have the reeds. If I can buy the machines whole and strip them at my house, I'll do that too. They said they'll charge me scrap because that's what they pay them, weight plus 10%. And then they'll load it onto a trailer for me. We got a lot of machine shops in the area, but they don't let stuff go until they're whipped. I drive around the industrial area in the city next to me, and there was a old vertical turret lathe that was all manual. Probably had a 32 or 36-inch table on it. So I found who owned it and contacted them. It was an old employee who's just not ready to get rid of it. But I found machines like that too. It's like just down the street, there's a 3-phase big Powermatic drill press and a 6-foot metal shear sitting in a back lot that's been there for at least a decade. Someone's cleaning up the building now, so I keep driving by every day to catch someone there to add them to the shop. Hey guys, welcome to the chat. That's my plan for the machines that end up at the scrapyard. Lead screw, reverse lever, shaft, and brackets. Okay, I will make a note of that. I'll go through I'll go through and make a note of that. I know a lot of people with machinery, and I help them out, and I got a couple guys in different states. So I have a list of stuff that people are looking for. I will add that to that. See if we can find something for you. Hey, as well. I checked out the phase converter guy you mentioned, and I have ordered a phase converter from that same guy. So you just have to figure out I don't have a forklift currently, so there's going to be a little bit of shipping added onto mine, but no big deal. You can always use R8 spindles. Because I got milling heads and stuff like that. I ended up getting a 40 horse. Because that's for the other power usage in my shop. That'll be more than enough for anything I'll run in here, especially with the transformer. I will have a R8 spindle out of the Kent milling machine here very soon. Out of the old head that was on it. Nothing wrong with the spindle. Just every other part of the head attached to the spindle was wrong. Yeah, I bought it through eBay. When I looked up his name for those, pretty much I think all his stuff was listed through eBay. I like all the refurbished motors he uses are American motors. This makes it easier if I need to down the road put bearings and stuff in. Yeah, 8% would be nice. I am not internet-y enough to know a lot about eBay and stuff like that. I was able to find it and I was able to buy it, and that was about it. Yeah, the spindle was good in that machine. It's I'll probably fully strip that head as soon as I got the parts, the gear for rotating the head, so side to side coming. As soon as it's on there, then I don't have a use for that head. All the motors I looked at he had said, now he may just have to put that on there for eBay rules. I don't know eBay very well. They all said refurbished motors on them. Then he listed like 5 or 6 motors that they could be. They could be Baldor, GE. There was a couple I don't remember. So that's fine with me. And when I get it, I like how there's a lot of capacitors in it compared to the kit for the 15 horse I'm getting. It only has like 5 or 6. I had quite a few that go in there. Yeah, that'd be cool to get a new one. And when I do get it and show it on the video, I'm not going to give part numbers and stuff for the capacitors and all the stuff he did to build it. You know, that's his work, his research. He's done it. I don't want to just say, hey, here, get a motor in a cabinet, and here's all the parts you need from it. Now, the kit I got for the 15 horse, I'll do that because that's all it is. It's just a few capacitors and a switch and all that. But if I buy something from someone, especially if it's a good product, I'm not going to reverse engineer it so people bypass that just to get, the guts of it. Because that is not fair to him for sure. If it head with no spindle, I will strip. Probably here, I'm supposed to get those parts late this week. Once I get the head going, I'll strip that spindle out of there and I'll send it to you. So it'll just be the spindle. I need the drawbar and stuff for the other one. Yeah, unless he gets a screaming deal. Yeah, and the 15 horse one I'm going to make, it'll be, I don't know how balanced that kit will make it. I doubt very much. It basically just has a sensing line to kick off the the start stuff to get it going. And then the big transformer, will be after it. Those transformers, I'm surprised. My uncle gave me that one, but they go cheap here. You can get them brand new at auctions for like $80. So I was just waiting, but this one's a little bit bigger than the ones I've seen. I actually had it out in the driveway before I brought it in the shop. The local power company guy, this guy lives a couple houses down that works for him, and my neighbor across the street says, "Better get that in your shop." For the power guy sees that, starts asking questions. No, the phase converter, there's a shed that's about 6 feet off the back of my shop. I'm going to put the phase converter in there, the big air compressor, and run pipes throughout the shop. And that'll probably be all that's in there from now. I have to run power out there for the phase converter. How loud is yours? Because I'm around motors all day at work, so running motor noise doesn't bother me very much. I work around big 1,000-horse turbine pumps and a lot of 200 and 250 horse motors. So now if it's a rattly noise, then yeah, it's going out there. And I guess I should factor in, if I'm using it and recording a video, how that comes across the speakers and all that. But I do have a space out there for it. So. I cleared the whole back of it out for the phase converter and the air compressor. I'm one of those people, I've seen two big shop size air compressors blow up. So I'm seeing that and being in the shop when it happened. I definitely want it outside. Because once you are in the build, it went through a wall. It blew on the side seam. It went through the wall. So once you experience that, you're a little leery about used big air compressors. And I do have a shop crane outside. So I'm going to check with, I sent a guy question on it. I go, I have gantry cranes and stuff, because it said if I had a loading dock or a forklift, it was free delivery. So my gantry crane would fit over a tailgate of a delivery truck. Yeah, they can get loud. It surprised me. I had a motor with a plastic fan in the back. It lost one fin. It was a big motor. It was a 5-horse. Just that one fin threw the balance off that motor enough that it was making funny noises. That comes part of buying used motors all the time, like I do, is they go look at stuff like that. So yeah, the big lathe is coming along. Should be painted probably Tuesday. You'll start putting the apron and carriage all together. I got to make some more sight glasses for it. But the guy I bought it from made a custom tool. Oh, is it? It's not in here. They made a custom tool. So you stack the plexiglass or whatever it is, and then the cork board and plexiglass cork board uses the same 3 bolts, same spacing. So you can turn them all together and make, 10 sight glasses and stuff at a time on a lathe. So I thought that was super cool. I need to replace those because there's paper towels shoved into the headstock of it right now to keep the oil in there. It's getting windy outside. Ready to drain the oil. I did run a magnet through the bottom of the oil in the headstock today, and nothing alarming showed up in there. Yeah, seeing him blow up, I'd like to frame it in with like 1-inch plywood. But they'll be on the shed, and I'm going to run some on this back wall here, up above the Lawson stuff. I got a whole bunch of galvanized pipe I'm going to run around the shop. Yeah, the gears did look good. Looked very, very good. All I read online was, those gears are fragile. They're brittle. You're going to get it, and it's going to be missing teeth. It's going to look like a pirate in there. All the teeth are going to be in the bottom of the headstock. It's not even going to turn. That's how practical machinists people on there think of these reeds. So, yeah, very, very happy with the condition of the headstock. Thank you, Maddie's Workshop. I love to see that subscriber count jump every day. First thing I do in the morning is I check my subscriber count and see if it went up. It's super exciting. Nice and steady. That's fine with me. Just love that more people are checking it out. Yeah, the phase converter is going to be about 10, 20, probably 40 foot at a straight shot. But I have 2-watt and 1-watt wire that I get at the auctions. I have a wooden spool of I think it's 2-watt. It's welding. It might be welding lead. I have to go through all that stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna run that. I was thinking about that too, because the side of the shop has all the pegboard on it. So I'm gonna have to either go outside, go through conduit, and then the gap between the shop and the shed, there's like a step down, and the shed's on blocks. So I don't want to go straight across. So I have to go then up and over so I can still walk underneath it. So I've got some figuring to do there. But I think I have enough wire. Yeah, it's a pretty good run. There's a door I have to get up and over too. Yeah, I saw too about the waves not being hardened. On the 14-inch reed, that machine's immaculate. The waves are perfect. This one has you can't catch your finger on it when you're lifting up. It's just you can kind of tell something's there. Again, for the work I'm going to be doing with it, that is no problem. And I keep my ways well oiled. Red see that too. Again, it's in nicer shape than the LeBlond was, and everything I did in LeBlond was fine. Everything I did on the Tida had a ridge you could catch your finger on. I don't do a lot of long shafts. I do a lot of keyways and shafts, a lot of pump shafts, and some shaft straightening, but I don't do that on the lathe. And I do a lot of face or chuck work, faceplate work, doing motor propellers and stuff like that. So I'm very happy with the wear on this, but I did see that they're not hardened. Yes, it is a lot of work. I'm finally getting machines to where I want them. And at first I was going to run hard conduit down each one and do all that, and that'll be the place where they stay. But I do a lot of what costs me money is I do a lot of setups, and then I get a few more machines and I scrap the old setup entirely. I have a lot of electrical stuff in my shed, boxes and boxes and boxes, different switches, and multiple. At one time, all my machines had their own disconnect switch next to them on the wall. So I got rid of that because when I got the breaker panel. The other thing is I don't need to buy any of that stuff very often. Two-inch flex conduit, yeah. Like that weather head or weatherproof stuff. Yeah, I'd like to see a picture of your machine there, Rick. I like looking at other people's machines. Oh, okay. I didn't know they made some in metal on the inside. Oh, that's not bad at all, price wise. It'd be easier for me to run it outside the shop. Wouldn't have to mess with the beams here, because this is a pole building construction shop. So there's one, two, three, four, five beams I'd have to get behind. Yeah, Maddie's workshop. That's kind of the same thing here. There just wasn't any manufacturers around here, so everything here is secondhand, and most of the time it is whipped. And I've bought way back. I've bought a few machines that I just should have never touched. They were that wore out, thinking I could fix them, but then they're just beyond gone. Vertical machines. The one I bought was missing the lead screw out of the carriage, or the knee. It had those panels mounted to it, and the headstock, all the power feed stuff was broke. And that was a $2,500 machine here. There's no vertical milling machines that ever show up here. You get like one a year. Now you get those occasional, like the one I had, those Shop Fox ones, or the round column bench top ones. Those show up. But, when you start talking about getting a milling machine, everyone says, oh, just go pay $1,500-$1,800 for a Bridgeport. No, not here. I don't know if I've seen an actual Bridgeport for sale in my area. And when they do show up, everyone buys them because they never show up. Yeah, changing layout happens a lot too. I spend a lot of time standing in the shop staring at it, wondering where I should put things, especially when I keep bringing new stuff in. And just slow that up. After I get the next batch of machines, I'm gonna slow it up and find a setup that works and try to keep that for a while. Yeah, surface grinders don't show up here either. I got that one, and it wasn't even for sale, or the one over there, the Norton. It wasn't even posted for sale. A guy said he had the big lathe, and I got it from the same guy I got the big lathe from. When they show up here, they're about an hour away. There's a Yakima, and they go for $4,500, $5,000 for a used one. For one's not much more modern than the Norton is. Yeah, surface grinders can go for a lot. I got lucky, very, very lucky finding mine. I've been looking. I had a homemade one. Someone had made out of the older style vertical or horizontal milling machines that had the head off to the side. He'd made it out of that, and he took the lead screw out of the table, and it was on a really crude lever system with just a gear and a rack. And that was like $800, and it was homemade. We do have a lot of yard sales. And last year was the first year I went every weekend. And I did it. Actually, last year was, to be honest, the best year of yard sales I've ever had here. There's a lot of resellers in my area, a lot of eBay sellers. I went to a yard sale yesterday, just a yard sale. It opened at 10. When I got there, there was probably 25 people waiting to get in. they talked about is reselling stuff. It has really driven up the prices, especially at the small monthly auction we have here. Man, unless it's electric motor or something like that, you can't get your hands on anything. That is an awesome price. Here, sometimes a bench grinder, a 10-inch bench grinder, will run you $200. There's just not a lot of that stuff here. So it's to the point now where I'm going to have to start driving at least. I scan Craigslist every day. I'm going to have to start cruising 6-7 hours away one way to find the stuff to finish the shop, just to get some more stuff. Because like metal brakes and stuff, they never show up here. And I really need a metal box and pan brake, and a big vertical metal cutting bandsaw, and a smaller radial arm drill. I missed one. There was one on Craigslist at the very northern edge of my state for 2 years for $1,800. And of course, when I finally went to go get it, someone has bought it like 2 days before. So that's how that goes. Yeah, it will never be done. There's always bigger, nicer machines than the ones that you have. And then I just like machines too. So that not just getting them from a standpoint of I need this for the shop to do some jobs. It's like that machine looks really cool. I need to have that so I can look at it in my shop. So I'm looking at a big stick welder too, big 400 amp one of these big old millers. Do I have to be self-employed? Yeah. I have some ideas I've actually sent out to be patented. If that unless you hire lawyers, it takes forever, like years, like 2 years to get stuff done. If I can get the things I sent away patented and I can make them here, then that could be a possibility. My day job pays really well and has excellent benefits and is guaranteed. So it'd be hard to get away from that, and I love it. I love the water business, pipes and pumps and all that stuff. But if I can get some of those patents to go through, that could be a game changer for me. What kind of work does it need there, Rick? Yeah, the benefits are best. I get my health insurance paid for. I get 6 paid weeks off a year. It's nice. Yeah, it'd be a good sized radial arm drill. I wouldn't want it any taller than 10 foot with the beams I have. Again, I have access to a huge one. It's bigger than Brian's, and it's bigger than Keith's. It's probably one size bigger than Brian's is. It's on 2 semi-trailers. The arms on one, and the base and the column are on another one. But it's beyond my financial means to pour the base that would be steady on. I have to put it in the driveway. I'm sure the neighbors would love looking at that guy. But I am trying to get the drill bits for it. He has bits from 2-inch to I think 5-inch. So those would be spiffy to have. Yeah, and when I was doing that stuff there as well, I didn't know as much. I should have researched more before I sent the stuff away. It would have saved me some money for sure. Oh, thanks for checking in. Yeah, we're just talking machines. Yeah, the patent stuff, I probably should have gone about it a different way and probably still could. But I don't know if filing something the way I did and then doing another one, I don't know if that's going to mess it up somehow. I definitely should have researched it more before I did what I did. Yeah, that's probably true. Just crank them out because they will copy it. That is for sure. Rick, new tires, wiring, and a link to shift from high to low. Oh, that's not bad. My vertical vents I had before was all chain drive underneath. It had the lever for shifting transmission, and it was variable speed. I was able to get all the parts for that. So, and as I recall, Rick, are you in Washington State too? Oh, $200 is not bad at all. That is much less than I paid for the initial stuff. No, machines are always big, and enjoy talking about them. And for those who are, I see there's more people, 17 people here now. This is the place to be tonight. I'm going to do a production run of these bearings, spindle bearings for the Delta DP220 drill presses. These are very hard to come by. They're an obsolete part, obviously. And for someone without a lathe and stuff like that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to source these bearings, but the ID is going to be just a hair less. And I'm going to make them and get them to people that need them for their machines. Because these are expensive. And all it is it's got a thread right here that holds it in the top of the headstock, and the cone pulley sits on top of this. So I've already pretty much sourced the bearings. I just need to make this and secure it in there. I might do an interference fit. We'll see. But yeah, gonna get those going for people. When I did the video where I pulled the bearings out of that, I get like an email a day of people wondering how to get this bearing and what to do with the ones with the two notches in it. And you don't need those notches if you don't have the Deltas had the quick exchange spindles, and a lot of those were for driving that. Hello, Chrysler Works. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Rick, has variable speed? I would be interested. Very interested. How big is the ID? Well, the ID of this tube, or the thing in here. It's the bearing was weird. It's like 2 inches and 15 thou is the outside. It is 0.815 was the ID of that guy in there. And then the outside is is a 2-inch 045. It's a little different. One of the mill being action, the gear for the makes the head tilt side to side is in the mail. It's supposed to be here Thursday or Friday. Then we'll mount that gear in there. I actually had the head bolted on the other day to make sure everything lined up. And the motor is at a electrical shop in town getting looked at. I do have a way to put a different motor in there. I just have to turn. The keyway is the full length, but there's a snap ring on top. So I might have to, my idea is to put the motor housing in the lathe, power them, dial in the shaft on the motor, not the housing of the motor, just the shaft. Power up the shaft power up the motor, and use the carriage of the lathe to cut the snapping groove in it. Kind of a different setup. Basically, just using the lathe to hold it, give me something solid to mount a tool in. You know, I was thinking it would, with the weird size, that it might have been metric. I mean, it's from an old machine. There was I got it all dirty again. There is a bearing number odd on it, but they couldn't cross it because it has the, this part is part of it. I thought it was pressed in there, but it is not. I know it looks like it is, but no. This shaft part is the internal part of the bearing. Have I been looking for tooling for the mill? Yes. I have a bunch of in-mill holders and stuff. I have a old rotary head. I need to get a newer one, a bigger one, for sure. What else do I need for it? I made a few heads for holding slitting saws and stuff like that. My boring head is wore out, so I need to get a boring head for it. I have a homemade, I guess you could call it a boring head, but it has a very crudely adjusting piece of high-speed steel that comes out the side of it. It does okay. Tractor arms and stuff. Yeah, trimming the mill head takes some time. I was just going to get straight because I very, 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 very rarely have to tilt the head side to side. I was just going to get it straight and use the clamping force of the 4 bolts to hold it on there. But no, I have it off, so I ordered the parts. Yeah, all my taper stuff is R8. Though I haven't looked at the, actually I need to. I need to break the tooling out of the horizontal and see what it takes. I haven't actually done that yet. Yeah, I'd be interested in anything that people are wanting to give me leads on. I know I need more gear cutters too. I've got a couple dozen, but they're for various. I bought them for specific jobs. But again, being as I'm on that scale of job shop where I'd like to have the stuff to do anything that comes in, but I don't make enough to buy the stuff to have everything for whatever comes in. So I'm very good friends with a big machine shop in the area, and I buy when I need a specialty cutter, I just go over there and buy it. And they're actually they've sent me work, so I think that's super awesome. They do a lot of really big pumps and stuff like that. So they send me the owner has ran the shop for it forever. He started it. So when people come in, they just need the little parts made for what he has to charge them. And I know he would like to charge them less. But for the machines and the crew and the shop he sends the small guys to me. So yay. Yeah, and I have the mag chuck for the surface grinder, and I thought about the possibility of putting that on the milling machine. I got another mag chuck outside from my uncle. It has these grooves cut in it at a very shallow angle, and it came from the potato plant. They sharpened the knives that cut the French fries. So I don't know if I could power it and grind all those flat and have two mag chucks. I need to put a plate on my table. I don't know if I've showed it recently, but right in the center of my vertical milling machine, someone got into it pretty good with an end mill, probably about 10 inches long, and it's about almost 100 thou deep. And then someone got into it with a fly cutter, it looks like. How someone gets to the table with a fly cutter, I do not know, but they did it. So I've thought about bolting a piece of 1-inch plate to it. But then getting that accurate and stuff, I'm not sure. But forgetting what I do, I just have a chuck in there, or a vise rather. Yeah, I think I'm a ways away from Grizzly offering me a sponsorship. What would you think of a mechanical variable drive system on the horizontal mill? I thought about that. I have this might be the veritable sheaves out of a snowmobile. I kept them, and the gearbox out of it for just down the road because they don't take up too much space throughout my shed. And I was thinking about making a veritable speed drive out of that because I'm gonna get away from that transmission, that truck transmission that's on the mill right now. I'm actually probably realistically with the milling machine going to get a VFD just because the nature of it. There's nothing you can shift to change the speeds. So I'll probably get a 3-horse VFD for the horizontal milling machine and then run it through one pulley, then down to the spindle pulley. Because it's just the way the machine is designed. There's no cone pulleys. It's just a pulley that drives it. So it would really benefit from something like that. But with the low end torque, I'm still thinking about running it through a gearbox to run the motor at higher speeds and still keep the power to it. So I have a bunch of ideas. I've been waiting for it. I actually did some cutting with it the other day, hooked up to that green motor I powered it with in that video with a smaller pulley on it. Yeah, VFDs are nice on a lot of machines. I wish all my older machines I would have had them on there. A few of mine came with them. I got a lot of machines with 5 horse and 7.5 horse motors. Yeah, stuff like that, like snowmobile transmissions, and any gearbox I ever see. I have a bunch of motor to chain drive gearboxes and anything like that. I don't know if you guys have sprinkler circles in your area for farms, those drive motors for the wheels. I buy those at auction when they show up. These gearboxes come in handy for a lot of things. I end up reselling most of them. So that would be handy to me next to a place like that. That's cool. I've had those dump trailers. The ones around here all have the feed knob. You back it out to make the drum spin one way, turn it in to make the drum spin the other. Some videos on concrete coming up because I'm going to hear very soon. I've been hoarding broken concrete from job sites when they cut out the sidewalks and stuff to put the gantry crane in the driveway. So I'll start digging a big old hole and fill it with new and used concrete. Hmm. 40 horse Mitsubishi. I can't imagine what that would have cost new. The 5 and 7.5 horse ones I'm looking at new were spendy. My beer of choice, I drink, and some of you are going to scoff at this. I drink a lot of Keystone, well, not a lot, but I drink Keystone Light and Coors Light. I know. Yeah, I wish I knew more about electronics. Talk about replacing the board. There's always welders for sale at the auctions. And everyone tells me if there's a newer welder at an auction, the board's bad. Then, but I don't know. I've never gotten to the electronics of anything like that, really. It'd probably be worth the effort, especially as quickly as companies just throw stuff away and throw it in the auction. Want to build a rock crusher? Someone used to have one. I've just been smashing it out there with a sledgehammer to get it into like fist-sized pieces. Just when we cut up the curbing or sidewalks up to make a repair, I smash it up, throw it in the back of my van, and bring it home. Yeah, companies do buy stuff for this one job. And that nuclear power plant I buy, they send a lot of brand new stuff to the auction. Yeah, school auctions, they were all, any ones around here that still had machines stopped about 10 years ago. Now it's all lockers and cooking, big stoves and stuff like that. I actually bought a big Hobart mixer just because I wanted the motor and the mag starter that was on the back of it. And no one bid against me. I got it for $2. Because who was going to buy a 3-phase mixer? Oh, good night, Brian. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you next Sunday. Yeah, there was when I was in high school in the late 90s, the high schools around here already had no machine shops. We had material science, which was make stuff out of stained glass and clay and stuff like that. But there was no wood shop and there was no metal shop. And there's still an automotive shop. They did have a CAD class, but I didn't take it. Yeah, all that stuff was long gone before I started. Of course, I don't know what happened nowadays. If a kid got hurt on a lathe or something like that, probably, one or two occurrences of that, and it'd probably be all it would take, and then just take everything away. But no, I heard some deals were to be had at those auctions too. The nuclear power plant used to have auctions there before. For security stuff, they moved it off site. Yeah, I will do that. I'll put up a what I'm looking for kind of thing. I'd like to get a big power hacksaw. I had a small one. I don't know if I ever showed it. I had a channel before this where I fixed lawnmowers. It only had like 8 videos. I got rid of it. I deleted that channel. And I had an old power hacksaw that just took standard hacksaw blades. It was kind of cool because it was really old and intricate and had all kinds of moving arms and everything. I'd like to get a big power hacksaw. Not that I need one, but because I think they're cool. They don't take up that much room. You can put it on a workbench. They're really good for cutting tubing. Really thin wall tubing. With the Johnson saw, I kind of have to, put resistance against it. It's kind of irritating. Plus, it's one more machine. You can just kind of put some stock in, get it cutting, and just leave it alone. If your rig gets shut off on its own. That's unfortunate. Yeah, table saws are dangerous. I don't do woodworking by any means, but hi, Client Graphics, saying thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a happy Sunday as well, and that you had a great weekend. I had my kids this weekend, so I didn't do much in the shop. Probably after this live stream, I'm going to eat and keep prepping the big Reed Prentice for paint. I want to get painted before I put all the lead screw and the other shafts and stuff on it, because then they'll just be in the way. And that degreaser I was using works really well. It doesn't leave it oily. So, got probably 3 hours of cleaning, and it'll be ready for paint. And this stuff I already painted. Some stuff was painted, but some of the little doodads painted before I put them on there. These are the bottom clamps for the carriage. There's still a few mystery parts. So, finding out where all the taper pins go and the right length taper pins, that'll probably be the most irritating part. Let me grab this guy here. I went through all the bearings on this guy, flushed them out, re-greased them. They're a little stiff, but in good shape. This is the lead screw reverse for it. There's this that came with it. Okay. This, I thought, was a clamp for the ways. You know, like a stop of some kind, but it's not. I'm thinking, but with that kind of a nut, you know, you think that's what it would be. And I can't find this on the parts breakdown. But it looks like a stop of some kind. Again, when I heard I mentioned it, the guy I got the lathe from said he got some extra parts with it to replace some parts, worn out parts, or parts they thought went with it, which does not help when you're reassembling a machine that's in parts. Extra parts are not good. That's one of the, there's only probably 4 parts that are mystery parts. So, but that will for sure slow stuff up. That's okay, I don't need this lathe for probably about 3 weeks. I got jobs coming in. As the weather's turning. Up, welcome back. BS Small Engines. Yeah, just, and it has, I mean, this is a machine surface on both sides here. But it doesn't even come close to fitting on the ways. I mean, it'd have to be twice as big. Oh, wait. Does this clamp onto the square shaft? Because now that I look at that, that looks like what that goes to. So I thought it looked like a stop, because obviously it does, especially with that kind of a drive head on it. And now that I look at it, it is the exact same. Actually, I got a piece. Yeah, on the clutch shaft. Yeah, now that I see the square hole in that, and line that up, that's exactly where that goes. The mystery has been solved. Is the level? Oh, the other reed has. I see one there. It looks different, but yeah. Okay. Yay. Yep, they're on the square rod. Yeah, on this lathe, there's the drive rod. I mean, the lead screw. Then there's the drive rod for driving the carriage with the keyway all the way through it. Then this one just has the one square rod. On the older reed, it has 2. One's the brake and one's the clutch. And on this one, the clutch and the brake share the same shaft through it. Because the other one has all kinds of tags saying, you know, make sure you're off the clutch before engaging the brake. There's like 3 different warning tags on there. Yes, the big reed printers came with a taper attachment. That's most of what's disassembled is the whole apron, or the carriage. The apron itself, with all the gears and the handles and everything, that's been gone through. He replaced bushings in it. It's all good to go. But all the, all the cross feed, all the compound stuff, the lead screws are all out of it. The brass nuts are out of it. That's pretty much all the parts. And then the quick change gearbox and the 2-speed gear that's to the left of the gearbox. Yeah, that all came with it. So that's what I got to reassemble. And all the drive rods are off it. They're sitting off to the side over there. So right now it's literally just the headstock and the tailstock. And he thinks he has a steady rest for it. I swore that we loaded one up. But I went through and couldn't find it, so I messaged him, and he said, I thought we were moving one around too, so that'd be cool to have. So yeah, most of it will be two of the pieces of the rack. The carriage rack are off. So I got all the taper pins to, that locates those. This piece here has right here and right here. There's two taper pins that locate this. This is the far right side. Well, sits on the right side of the lathe. It's the support for those. Then the other piece for it, which I just painted today, and it's really heavy. This guy does the same thing. This, I believe, is the one that mounts to the carriage. Yeah. Yeah, I've never had a follow rest for any of my machines. The Tida came with one, but the holes, there was no place to bolt it to. So that would come in handy sometimes. Then on the Reed, the 14-inch, I got to do the motor. That'll be tomorrow's video, is getting a motor finished in there. And there's a mystery part. Let me go grab it real quick. This is right over here. Okay. Now it moves. I've pseudo powered it. And the, all the gears work, everything clamps down. This was in the chip pan. Now, I don't know if this is something that was part of the tailstock. And I haven't looked at this one yet to see if it's similar. It has a unthreaded hole that goes through there. And this hole here is likewise unthreaded. As you can see, there's a machine surface there. This is the same color as the paint on the machine. It looks to me like this is part of the clamp. Like this sits below the ways. But this part here being tapered, it doesn't sit like that. If this is pretty wide, you couldn't even use it as the clamp on the bigger machine here. And I don't see where this is obviously missing from. Yeah, this side's machined. This bottom side. And I guess these sides here are likewise machined. There's a spot there where like a taper pin or some kind of locating pin went. Because then I thought it was part of I haven't had the taper attachment part on one of these machines. I thought maybe this was a part to the taper attachment. Like this would hold. Because this hole here is not lined up with this. It's beneath it. So obviously this clamps up against something. And I don't know. But I've looked all through that machine, underneath it, under the ways, under the carriage, everything. And this may just be a part that was in There, the guy did have other machines. Yeah, I was thinking it's part of the taper attachment, but I just don't know. And I've run the taper attachment on that, and it works. So I don't know. Maybe mystery part. Well, I'm gonna pull those covers off the top plate off the carriage and take a look underneath there. I need to do a little more oil. I want to make sure oil's getting to everything in there. So I'll see if maybe it goes down there somewhere. And the taper attachment for the big reed is pretty much, the whole carriage is pretty much the exact same, just bigger. And there's no piece that looks like that. Mine is a 1952. That's a little newer than that one. Screw, shift lever. Is that the headstock? That part you are holding may be from the back of the headstock to shift the lead screw. And maybe I didn't mess with the carriage stuff much when I ran it. So maybe I need to pop some covers off and take a look at that. You mean like a, Rick, you mean like a lead screw reverse? Because there's one sideways moving knob on the quick change gearbox that I haven't messed with yet. Because when I was running it for a little bit the other day, I was running the machine very crudely, so I didn't film it. I forgot to mess with that lever. So yeah, I will take a look at that. Well, thanks for joining us, Matty's Workshop. I'm not sure what the time difference is where you are, but thanks for joining us. Make sure to join us next Sunday as well. Yeah, I'll take a look at that, Rick. I'll take a look at that other lever. That's literally the only lever I didn't mess with. Oh, that's not bad. Only 145. I was powering the lathe. I took the 5-force motor out. And took the pulley off the 5-force and ratchet strapped the motor to the cart, but had to push it way to the side to get the chain belt tight enough. And it was a very temporary setup just to run the machine. I wanted to make sure the headstock oiler worked. The oil pump in it, and everything does. But I didn't want to show that part on camera. So yeah, I'll check that out for sure, Rick. And thank you for the lead and hopefully the right direction. Because if this is supposed to be on there, I would like it to be on there. So. Very cool. Yeah, lathes of any size are handy. I've often thought about getting a another benchtop one, just for really small stuff. Maybe not like a 9x18, but have any Harbor Freight machines? No, but I know someone that has the vertical milling machine, the red one. I don't know if they sell it anymore. It's rough, I'll tell you that, but it does work. It does good work. The casting is rough. It is inside because it's a knee mill. It's like a 75% version of the mill I got, size wise, and the inside of the casting of the column is it's like sandpaper. It's kind of gritty, but the dovetails on it are nice. The ways are nice on it. He can, put a vise in and tram it. The table has very, very little movement in it. Yeah, he had to order it online, and it wasn't much at all. It was cheaper back then, but the handles and that's not table on the motors. Just all he did is he took the gibs out of it and polished the gibs, and he took it apart before he used it because there was a little bit of very, very fine grit on the lead screw under the table in some of the ways. So he took the table off and completely cleaned everything and real quick took a stone and everything, and he makes parts for people on it. The red color was an interesting choice for it, I think. Yeah, he does very, very. The dovetails and stuff are on it for longevity, but oh, is that what they call it? Okay. A veritable speed lathe would be super handy. That old, I don't know if it's in any videos either. The old Logan Powermatic I had was veritable speed. I know who has that machine, and I hope to get that machine back one day. I had a call it Chuck. It was for the room it took up. It was a super handy machine. I have no problem with machines from the 80s. I've had a lot of late 80s and mid 80s Taiwanese machines, and they've all been fine. Small mill, mills are weird. The bigger and older they are, the cheaper they are. The small ones, if you get one of those, Shop Fox makes them, those round column mills. I mean, they're mill drills, but you can put those on a sturdy wooden workbench. I can scoot one across the floor. I don't know if I should lift it. I don't think I can lift them. I had one in earlier videos. I got rid of it and should have never got rid of it. But they'd be fine in a wood floored building. You can do a lot of work on a good mill drill. Just the round columns get a lot of flack for, especially realigning the head. But I've heard people say if you're really digging the tool real hard, there is a possibility because you're clamping on round columns, the head could shift a little bit. I've never seen a Rockwell mill. There's not a lot of Rockwell machines in my area. A lot of Reed Prentices and I've seen a lot of Cadillac lathes showing up. Not familiar with them. I've seen a lot of them on Craigslist on the other side of the state lately. Yeah, all the old stuff I have has been Taiwan. I don't think of owning anything Korean or China. I do have a buddy with a Korean lathe that's a Teos or a Toss or something like that. You can actually run the power feed on the carriage on it separate of the headstock running. Kind of interesting. Yeah, the Cadillacs. The guy I bought the big Reed Prentice from has one, and then there's been a couple on the other side of the state for like $2,500. Big one, pretty good size ones. That's actually the first ones I'd seen. I didn't know if they were a actual producer or if there was a lathe that you could buy under 5 or 6 different names, kind of like the Tida is or the Kent milling machine is. Yeah, I've never heard of them either. Again, not a lot of random manufacturers show up here. Used to be some Lodge and Shipleys would show up, but again, big ancient ones. There's a lot of belt-driven lathes here because there's mostly a farming community for quite a ways. So a lot of old belt-driven stuff used to show up. What didn't end up in the scrapyard. Is that like a Bridgeport-sized knee mill there, Rick? I think I've heard of Birmingham too. Lathes. And the one he had looked like a nice machine. I'd like to have one. I'd like to have every lathe I put my eyes upon. I'd like to have in my shop, and he liked it. He built a really cool. When I go back, I'll take some pictures of it. It has its own I-beam gantry crane. He bolted it to one side of the housing because the base of the metal or the base of the lathe, or rather, had mounting points for something. So he has a hoop on each end, one over the headstock, one at the very end of the bed. He has its own little crane for taking the chucks on and off of. Because his was an 18-inch. Those chucks get heavy. And then for loading heavier stuff, because he did a lot of work on semi-axles. Oh, 1,000 pounds. Yeah, it's a little smaller. I'm not sure how much the Kent, well, the Kent weighs. It's not all that heavy. Now it's an Acer/Jet/Kent, because there are parts in 3 different machines on it now. It shows you how individual those manufacturers are. But it is handy when it comes to replacing stuff. I haven't heard anything about modern Bridgeports. I don't know if I've seen an even remotely modern one in my area. Yeah, 24-inch table is a good size table. How big is the snowmobile? Very trans. I can carry it. It's not super heavy. It has a face plate mounting on one side with 4 bolts to a flat flange that drove off the motor. And then it has the variable sheave on it. And I don't have the part to sheave wind. I might. It's probably 18 inches by probably 24. It's not very big. And you can find snowmobiles at the scrapyard. Steal the drives out of them. 24 by 120 is a good sized lathe. That's why I got my 22. Another project I have going on. I'm going to get one of those. I was going through my pulleys the other day. I'm going to temporarily run the Hypermac off a gas engine. I'm going to, in a week or so, get a Predator engine because I need one for another job anyway. So I'm going to temporarily push the motor back on the Hypermac and take the pulley off it and mount it to the gas engine. And in a very safe manner, there'll be airflow and might move the lathe. Run the Hypermac off of I think it's a 15 horse. I don't know. I was trying not to buy a motor for it, but then someone needs a motor to replace in a landscaping machine. So I have to buy a motor anyway. So I'm going to run the Hypermac off the gas engine. I was actually hoping I'd come across an older lathe that'd be easier to mount it off of. I think it'd be a cool thing. You know, we lose power, you can still run your lathe off of a Harbor Freight gas engine. I'm not sure what kind of power it's going to have. And then I was debating whether I needed I got some centrifugal clutches. Because obviously motor RPM is going to vary quite a bit on it. I do have a tachometer, so I can check that. I have this motor right here I was going to use. This is a Kohler, the older Kohler commands, the good ones. But this is the replacement motor for my engine-driven welder, which is going to be coming up very soon. And this has a tapered shaft on it to hold the rotor inside the welding machine. Because this is off a generator. And if you go to replace a motor in a generator or anything like that, keep in mind that the output shafts of the motors are generally going to be tapered. Because they got to make sure the stuff spins, and that's on. So a lot of people buy replacement motors not knowing that. I will do a vid on that because that's the truck transmission is just not the way to go. Not the way I want to run the horizontal milling machine. I want to do it a way that's more veritable than just the 3 speeds. So that'll be very quick on the to do. Rick, what kind of welder? It's an older Ranger, like really old. That had the old Wisconsin engines that had the dual mufflers coming straight out of the heads. I got it dirt cheap because the mufflers come straight up out of the, just pieces of pipe straight out of the heads. And it had those round dome mufflers. Well, he left it outside. They rusted, water got into the motor, and the motor's locked up solid. But the welding part, I'm hoping is still good. So I'm going to bring it here. I need to do that soon, and I will do that soon. pull the motor out, and from the research I've done, the taper on this guy is the same. So the bolting stuff doesn't matter. I can make adapter plates and all that. But hopefully that guy will power that guy, and then I'll have a 200, I think it's 250 amp gas powered welder again. Wow, and that's across the 2-hour mark. I'm probably going to call it a night here sometime soon. I still need to eat. I should have ate before, but I didn't. So we'll go a few more minutes here and call it a night. Super enjoy this. I super enjoy doing the live stream, chatting with you guys, answering your questions. Love it. Very much love it. I need to do a little bit more cleanup here before I call it a night and go inside. I do need to eat first, though. I'm not going to show you the painting on the lathe. It takes every ounce of will I have to paint the thing in the first place. So the slightest thing to distract me from cleaning it and painting it, I'm done with it for the day. So it's just one of those things I need to focus and get it done. So, but it's almost there. Again, that stuff, that degreaser stuff, where it works really good. Doesn't use any, doesn't leave any oily residue. Just wipes right off. I will probably wipe the whole lathe down with acetone or something first. Yeah, the motor on it wasn't super high horsepower. The replacement motor is 25. I actually have a water-cooled Kawasaki that needs rebuilt. I was going to put in front of it, but got that motor. So fuel-injected water-cooled Kawasaki. That's going to make an excellent go-kart engine. It'd be nice to have someone to strip the paint and paint things for me. Because I love that. It's like the other day, I went to the store and there was someone had a sign out willing to pick up leaves for like $10 an hour. Oh no, it was on Craigslist. So I wonder how much, $10 an hour. I wonder if they would grind paint for that, but then I don't want to get into anything like that. So. I did get the 14-inch reed cleaned up good. That super clean edge glass. I haven't used it on anything glass, so I haven't experienced that. But I will keep that in mind now. I just used it on the cat casings and the chip pans. I used to use brake cleaner, but you go through a lot of brake cleaner and then everything smells like brake cleaner for 2 days after you're done doing it. I'm looking for a lot of the auto part stores here used to have hot dip tanks. You used to take your engine blocks and stuff too, but no one here does it anymore, except for the high-end, hot rod shops. So I'm actually looking for that's on my list. It's a hot dip, or not hot dip, just just a dip tank that's heated for stripping parts. Because that would make like the headstocks on the smaller machines I was storing, just put them in there and then be done with it. Yeah, I use all brake cleaner. It smells up the shop. And yeah, there's two places here that would dip stuff, but they're one of them has a huge thing. It's for I think you could fit a car body in it. It's that big. And if it's not, they don't keep it running all the time. So if you take them a tailstock or something, they want it to do cars and stuff like that and be filled all the time, not power it and have Johnny off the street bring in his little knickknacks he wants stripped. Use it to wash your pickup and to shine off of them. Well, keep that in mind too. Again, I've just used it for like heavy degreasing of castings and stuff. 55-gallon drum purple power for turkey burner. Well, I've not used purple power very much. I had an old 2.5 ton military telephone line truck I was restoring at one point. I used a lot of it to clean up the spray stuff, to clean up the engine and the winches and everything. That would be an interesting setup. And dip your south bit, your 16 and 70 tornado. Yeah, the one I went to had a forklift. They could have put the whole lathe in there, I imagine. Barrel heater. How hot would to make that effective? How hot would I need to get the stuff? Because I don't want to get something that's not sealed, like scalding hot, if I can avoid it. You have children here sometimes. And I want something with a lid so I don't go out there next morning and there's a bunch of neighborhood cats and squirrels and raccoons floating in it. Okay, well, that's not bad then. I have one of those big plastic, I think it's a 300-gallon tote with the metal cages around it that I was going to make a big Evaporust tank out of, but Evaporust doesn't sponsor me, so I don't get enough free Evaporust to be able to, fill something like that. It's expensive to fill it by the gallon or jug or the 5-gallon bucket. So I nixed that idea. Oh yeah, if I was going to heat something, I would use metal. And then over time, would the purple power be corrosive to the container itself? If I were to use it, because I have access to drums. And then I'd have to look at I'll check those videos out and also to see the ratio of the concentrate to the liquid. Because, mixing it 5% or 10% is one thing, but if it's 55 gallons of Purple Power, that's another thing entirely. The thing about using a drum is I do have a lid with a sealing band around it. Yep. Enjoy your dinner, and thanks for joining us. I'm going to call it a night here in just a few minutes, too, before I wither away to nothing. 1 gallon to 3 to 5 gallons, so... well, I guess if it lasts a while, it's not too bad. Yeah, I have an ultrasonic cleaner, too. 2-liter, I think is the size of it. That's how I do all my mower carbs. I've cleaned rusty milling cutters with it. Actually, I have a video. I just need to do a few more things too. I did the first part of cleaning up the milling cutters in it. Instead of letting some evaporate. So that's an evaporust overnight. It does the exact same thing, but the other thing's quicker. Yes, those ultrasonic cleaners are super nice. And mine's a cheap one. It has the digital heat, and it has a digital timer, but the timer doesn't turn it off. It just beeps when it's done. I guess the fancier ones will actually switch off. I've actually had problems with the heat feature on it on certain, I think it's Honda carburetors that have the little brass jets in them. I've had them get warm enough in there that those have come out. I think it's Honda carburetors. It might be Kawasaki. And I use the yellow degreaser you get at Harbor Freight. That's why I use my parts cleaner. I dilute it 1 gallon for 20 gallons, and that's what I use in my parts washer. And it works excellent. It doesn't turn the carburetor. Some carburetors will turn really white when you're done. I've never had that problem with it. Yeah, I definitely try it on a small part. Old stainless steel commercial kitchen sink. I never thought about building my own. Again, electrical stuff is not my... Besides wiring motors and stuff, is not my forte. Yeah, my heater was always on. It had a temperature thing, but I don't know if it actually controlled anything. It gets hot enough that it's uncomfortable to hold the things that come out of it. So maybe there's something wrong with it that's making it get that hot. But again, the temperature dials on it, it seems like it's more of a suggestion, like parts cleaner, will you please try to maintain this temperature? And then just does whatever it wants. I do not leave it plugged in when I'm not in the shop. Yeah, I'll check that out. Yeah, bigger ultrasonic cleaner would be nice. Mine's, I think, a 2-liter. You can't fit like a car carburetor in there. I put some single barrel carbs in there. Check out I've used Power before, like I said, to clean the motor on a thing. I know it makes a big deal about same with this stuff, not letting it dry. I've never really had a problem with it getting dry on stuff. I wipe it away right away. Actually, I have from that Hobart mixer I bought to get the motor and the uh, mags started off of. I have the mixing bowl, and it's stainless steel, and it's as it's probably it's bigger than a 5 gallon bucket. It came out of a commercial bread store. So there, I've already got the vessel. So yeah, I will definitely check that out. I'll look through here later to see. Yeah, good. Landed one. Make some notes here. Because I have no idea about how the thing works. I'm not an electrologist. I just know it works and does its thing. I know it kind of vibrates a little bit or feels like it does. Actually, when I first got it and plugged it in, I was scared to put my hand in there when it was plugged in because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know if it shocked me or anything. I assumed it wouldn't. Hey, Earl, thanks for stopping by. Hope you're having a nice Sunday, if it's still Sunday, if you're in this country. And hope you had a great weekend. We're going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon. I keep saying that, but enjoying the chatting. That's what I figured it was. Sound waves or something like that. Because the word sonic was in it. Pneumatic vibrator. Not sure I know what that is. In fact, I do not know what that is. Like a concrete vibrator, I have one of those. I don't know why I have it, but that's what happens when you go to auctions. You bring stuff like that home. Sander tape to a coffee can. Yeah, there's an idea. That's outside the box thinking. I knew a person that used one of those round blue tubs that you put the triangle shaped aggregate stuff in for cleaning up the outside of stuff. It just vibrates. But it only would clean outside stuff, of course. Yeah, the ultrasonic is different because it cleans the inside really well. I have never had a carburetor that I cleaned in there that I ever had an issue with. And most of what's been in there is carburetors. I used to have a big 5 gallon drum of carburetor cleaner I used to dunk stuff in. But then once the carburetors, I don't know if the alloys changed to save money, which is anytime they change, I assume. Some of them would come out like kind of white and powdery, so I stopped doing that. And one day I inadvertently knocked the 5 gallon jug over, which created quite the mess. Keep hoping a big one will show up at auctions around here. We get a lot of. I know they use them in the medical stuff sometimes for cleaning things. Every month, a heat treating oven shows up. I keep missing it. Next month is my month, or the month after. They're not very big heat treating ovens. One shows up every time. Yeah, I'll check out those videos and see what's all involved. Again, I know nothing about the ultrasonic cleaners. Absolutely nothing. Except for I don't want a bigger one. You know, I thought about kilns. I didn't know how hot they got. Because those show up a lot around here. And I hadn't done any research on them, but I was aware that was a source. Oh, do they? In fact, I may know where I can get one for free. So that may be an idea. I do have I bought a home built one a long time ago that the guy used wire and fire brick for. I saved the controller and stuff off it because all that stuff was good. So I do have the sensor probe thing that goes in there, and it's a digital control board. And there's some other things on. I haven't looked at it in a while. I've already have the electronic part for it. That'd be cool. He was moving and it fell off the back of a truck, and his was all fire brick with metal bands around it, and it shattered everything. So I bought the metal that was rounded off of it and the controller. Yeah, I never really thought about how hot they got. I don't know anything about pottery. Yeah, and I looked at the refractory stuff because I was going to make a propane-powered furnace for melting stuff. I have a lot of those projects I would like to do, but I don't have the time. But I did look into that too, because his was wire. It was refractory wire. He made it like 6 or 8 bricks tall, and he had a whole bunch of these coils in there. And the coils got red hot, and they heated the thing. Again, I didn't get to see it in its intact form, but he kind of told me what it was. But he said the controller worked, and it did. It still heated up the wire glowing red when we plugged it in. So I got the controller off him and the hinges, and I bought all the metal. Just cut it because he really overbuilt it because that's the stuff he had. Yeah, between the machines I need to work on and the customer stuff, I put on hold for, like I said, to get the shop more ready. Guys, you can see I've been going through these today, getting stuff organized and put away. And then by the time I'm done with all this stuff, the tractors will be pulling out for the first, and I'll be slammed again. I do have projects I want to get done, stuff I would like to do. Again, I'm almost doing this with 2 full-time things. I used to do some blacksmithing way back in the day, way back. And all of a sudden, a bunch of cheap forges, drum brake forges show up, and it's like, or in actual, purpose-built ones. Maybe I'll get back into that. And I go, there's nothing your neighbors love more in a residential area than you wailing away on an anvil all day. So. Just wait till they see the 3-phase diesel generator that's going to be showing up here at some point. But I have ideas for that to quiet it. Yeah, it's crazy what anvils go for now. In my area, 10 years ago, an anvil was about $1.50 a pound. Now it's crazy. I think they almost go for $4 a pound here now, and collectors buy them because they're just never here, so they're rare enough that these farmers and stuff buy them and put them in front of their houses, stuff like that. But they went through the roof here about 10 years ago. Yeah, a Post Lake Vise goes for $250 here. That's the going rate for a Post Lake Vise, which that's high too. Of course, now with all the forges coming up for sale, maybe everyone's getting out of it, so maybe they'll drive prices down. It won't on the anvils though. They're as much as they're going to be, I think. Yeah, I can't justify the cost of what they are now. It's crazy what they've gone up to, and they're rough. The ones that are over here, they've been sitting out in yards forever, and they've just been a weld on a weld on a weld on. There's no edges anymore. There's the tips of the horns are broken off. It's crazy. Yeah, I have some railroad track out back. I got like 4 foot of it. I used to have a railroad track when I made it. It was crude. Then I kind of got out of it. Yeah, Western Washington is a whole different world than my side of Washington. Machines are cheaper, and there are machines there to purchase. It's not once a month like it is over here. You get in trouble for having track anvils. What parts are you about? I looked at the Harbor Freight one. Chandler Dickinson. I used to watch his videos, and that's how he started out. Well, one of his early on years, he had a Harbor Freight one. He said he said he made money with it and stuff. Again, I wasn't trying to make stuff to sell. I was just making stuff because I thought it was cool. I know I burned myself a lot when I had mine. So. Then I have left over from that. I have a probably 4-inch by 6-inch by 18-inch piece of just steel that I used. That worked good. For what I used it for. That's an interesting law. I could see like a city law if you were around like a rail yard and stuff like that. Yeah, blacksmithing is not something I'm probably going to get back into. For one, I could put a lathe in the spot a forge would take up. So. Now, if I come across an anvil, of course, at a good price, I will, of course, purchase one. So I can say that I have one. It's always the hope with the small farm yard sales I go to. Shop with a track in it. Like a track in the floor or a ceiling track? There was about a year ago, butcher shop went out of business and they were selling out their stuff. They had a ceiling mounted track for hauling in the beef halves, the sides of beef that were coming through. And it was all high carbon steel, and it was, they lifted they claimed like 1,000 pounds from it. They had some bunch of S curve pieces. I almost bought it all. I was going to do something in the shop, but you really need a more solid roof than just, the trusses like I have. Seems like a silly, silly law to me. But you had to think there must have been some reason why they had to have it. Oh, the candy stole from the railroad. Can you go to a steel yard and buy track? I guess I've never looked at the steel yard for rail track. I guess that does make a little bit of sense. Not not saying that's a good law or anything like that, but oh, they want to take it for scrap. Yeah, the steel yards around here have you pull up there. There's a huge list of stuff they don't take, like downspouts off gutters, any kind of loose wire they don't take anymore. Certain types of fencing, and then they, depending on what you're dropping off, they take your license plate number, and you have to show an ID. Because unfortunately, for parts of my area, not the area I'm in, but the city over is kind of unfortunately rampant. Is they'll go out to the farms and they'll steal, I don't know how they do it safely. They'll steal the power cables out of the circles and stuff like that. So our scrap yards are pretty picky what they take in. Yeah. The guys I talk to in there, I'm pretty good friends with them. They try to let me know when stuff comes in, machines, and I go look at it and everything. It's funny, they have that form and it asks for your license plate number, and they said people will leave the stuff they have. It's still a light pole. It's crazy sometimes. There's a news article 3 or 4 years ago where 100 homes, the vertical parts of their downspouts off their gutters had been stolen. They didn't think the people taking that in, there might be a mite suspicious of someone turning all that in. Yeah, it's not that bad here with scrappers. There's only 2 good scrap yards here, and they've really curtailed by being proactive about not taking stuff. Because there's so much big manufacturers here that scrap stuff. They don't need the headache of it, they said. That's not something someone would typically have. That would certainly end someone's career there. Yeah, well, guys, it's been 2 hours and 37 minutes. I need to go in and eat, and I need to do a little bit more work out here. So let's wrap this up. Again, super great chatting with you guys. Yeah, check out the videos this week. There'll be some on mostly the Reed. I got a small welding job I might show. Yeah, everyone, again, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for joining the live stream. Super cool to have people to talk to on this. I was very worried the first time I set one of these up. So, yeah. Good night, everyone. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday. And tell people to join us. The more, the merrier. So this is Adam, and I am signing off. Have a good night, everyone.